Welcome to Digimon.
Hello and welcome to Digimon and welcome to another Deck Profile Monday. Make sure to like, subscribe and ding that notification bell so you're not missing out on any of the latest content. We have our regional roundup coming out on Wednesday for all of us that are going to regionals on Friday this week for our disappointing final hurrah for BT16. We're all hoping it would be the dawning of a new age, but due to supplier issues in the UK, BT16 is only available in online stores, and they have basically made the tournament BT16, they made BT16 illegal, is what I'm trying to say, because of the fact that local stores do not have the product. So, for example, my local store, the store in which the channel is named after, Dead Universe Comics, hasn't been able to get product because of the situation with Asmodee, the supplier in the UK. We might try and do a deeper dive into that at some point. This isn't the first time that this has happened. It happened last year as well, but I digress. We've got a deck list in front of us. Let's not ignore this. This is a little bit of an experiment I've been doing with Tyrannomon, and specifically, this is my Dino Rabbit build. I touched on this briefly when I did my player insight video a couple of weeks ago. I still need to see who's going to draw the next straw to typically the next person I talk about on the channel. But essentially, this is what I'm thinking. I wanted to try and fuse together the Tyrannomon kind of structure deck stuff with the Tyrannomon deck. So I've called it Dino Rabbit because I used to be a Yu-Gi-Oh player. Dino Rabbit. We have dinos, and we have a rabbit and a dog. Because Tyrannomon is a dog. Anyways, let's get into the list. So this is kind of my fusing of the two strategies. It's not going to break the meta anytime soon, I will be honest. It's still a bit of a work in progress, but this is what I'm currently working with. You'll notice some interesting choices going on here, but I'll explain what those are and why I've done them in just a little bit. First, onto our egg of choice. We have gone for the Gummymon, so it lets us draw when we're attacking and we've got a green tamer. One of our tamers is green, and it's the tamer we've got the most of. So I figured that would be good. Potentially could change the egg to something else. So potentially was thinking, I think it's the EX4 Cocomon. That is when something is suspended, you draw. That could be good. Or I used to run BT11 Tamers in my Tyrannomon lists, but those were a lot more tamer heavy, especially in the green department. So I think Gummimon's the best choice here. So long as we've got a tiger on board, we can then draw and keep our advantage up. Next, on to our level 3s. So we've got the Tyrannomons. So we've got the Floodgate Tyrannomon. So this is just to make sure we stall out the game so we can get the ball rolling and do our shenanigans. And then we've got 4 each of the ST17 Tyrannomon and Lopmon. So Tyrannomon obviously helps us play out our tigers and our Lopmons for cheaper, as well as also the 1000 all turns DP inheritable that Lopmon also shares. And then Lopmon actually gives us access to Alliance, which just gives us a little bit of an extra boost when we're attacking in, and also gives us a security check, an extra security check. So it can be quite handy in terms of what we're doing there. Then we've got our first in the Tyrannomons, the most important of which is BT14 Tyrannomon. I remember when this guy came out, I was over the moon because he's such a good Tyrannomon. All we need in Tyrannomon is decent in-archetype searches, and then we can start getting to the races with stuff like this guy. So he, for the whole turn, makes all of our Tyrannomon evolutions cheaper. So he'll reduce it by 1. So if we go into our level 5, reduces it by 1. If we go on to our level 6, reduces it by 1. Really, really good stuff. Then the other thing that's really great with him as well is he essentially gives pseudo blitz to anything that is dinosaur or ceratopsian or has Tyrannomon in its name. So essentially it means that we can digivolve into something, and then even if we pass turn, we can still make a swing, which is really, really cool. So just kind of gives us that extra kind of way of aggression if we've passed turn. Then we've also got 4 of the BT11 Tyrannomon. So this one is on play, and when digivolving, you can play out a tamer with 3 or 3 cost or less, and that is any tamer, which is pretty cool. The only downside to that is our other one of our tamers is 4 cost, and the other one is fine to do this with, but the other one is 4 cost, so we can't play it out. I was trying to find another 3 cost tamer, but in the end I was just for what we've kind of decided to do with this deck, we needed to have the particular tamer that we've got. But he also does give us a plus 2000 inheritable if we have a tamer on board, which making ourselves as big as possible in this deck is a really, really kind of big thing. Then the last of what almost the last of what we borrow from the bunnies is 2 ST17 Rapidmon. This gives us a blocker, it gives us armor, it has armor purge, so it can survive the hit when it is blocking. It's also really good in the early game, because we can use it aggressively to swing, and you know, it won't die necessarily. The Rapidmon might get kind of source stripped essentially, but the actual stack itself will not die. On top of that, it also has a bit of removal, minusing 4 whenever it suspends, as well as doing -4 to the security stack as well. So really good. We are playing less bunny related stuff in this than the original list from the player insight video, just because I found in terms of synergy, the Tyrannomon stuff wants things that help it. And the issue was, if you go into the BT14 Tyrannomon, for example, you can reduce the cost of your level 5, and then if you went into Mega Gargamon Ace, then you would no longer be able to get the blitz, you'd no longer be able to do any of that sort of stuff. So we've kind of fine-tuned it to be a bit more Tyrannomon based. Speaking of, we'll go into the level 5s now. So we've got the first of which is Metal Tyrannomon, which is from BT11. 4 of this. He's green and black, which is really cool. And he is, he's one of those communist machine Tramon cards. Your support is our support. But essentially, when digivolving and on play, he will suspend up to the amount of tamers, green tamers or black tamers, that you've got on board, and then one of the opponent's Digimon can't unsuspend during the unsuspend phase, which can come in clutch to help with stunning and everything there. The other really cool thing about him as well is that when you delete a Digimon in battle via his inheritable, you then get to trash the top of the opponent's security stack, which is great. You know, trashing security is the best form of removal that there is, because there's not a lot of cards that activate upon trashing. Of course, if you're going against maybe certain yellow decks, then they might have stuff that will activate on trash, but not all of them will. So it's a really great card for that kind of thing. Then the other Tyrannomon we play, the other level 5, is 4 copies of Master Tyrannomon. He gives security attack +1 to everything with Tyrannomon in its name, regardless of level. And then also has security attack +1 as the inheritable. Now, both of these Digimon are quite expensive to go into. They're 4 cost, but with the BT14 Tyrannomon kind of mitigating that cost with its start of main, as well as some other kind of cost reductions that we could do, they aren't that expensive all the time. So they are pretty cool in that respect. Then our only level 6, because I've cut down the level 6s again to fine tune what this deck is wanting to do. I may decide to add another one, but for consistency's sake, I ended up going down just to the 4 copies of promo Rust Tyrannomon Ace. So the interesting thing about Rust Tyrannomon Ace is, yes, you can blast with it. Obviously, it's an Ace card, but I do tend to find kind of not 9 times out of 10, but maybe like 7 times out of 10, you're mainly wanting to digivolve on your turn with this, so that you can then utilize the blitz effect of the BT14 Tyrannomon to then swing into their Digimon and beat them over. It does suspend everything on board when you digivolve into it. That's, includes when you blast digivolve into it. So it can come in clutch when you're on the back foot and they've got that extra swing and you've blasted evolved and you've before they can let off their absolute final swing, you can blast into something to suspend all of their Digimon. So let's say you had one security left, the Digimon that they swing first with will check that security, but everything else would be suspended and wouldn't be able to do so. It's not so good if you've got no security. It will not stop that attack. It really, honestly, with its effect, it really could have done with blocker. It could have done with blocker as well. There's so many ace cards that I think would be so much better if they just inherently had blocker. Or maybe like a stunning effect or something like that. But maybe that I'm just wishful thinking. The main thing that is really cool about it, and this is why I think it should have blocker actually, is all turns. All turns is the issue with this. When it deletes a Digimon in battle, you trash the top of their security stack. So if it had blocker, you could then block and trash something, which would be really, really cool. But unfortunately, Bandai doesn't like Tyrannomon to have nice things. So, it doesn't have that. But it does mean if we're already suspended and we've blasted into it and we're bigger than them, then... excuse me. It means that we do get that trashing effect. The other thing to note with its suspension as well, which is why we built the deck in a certain way to do certain things, is that its suspension effect is based around DP. So it suspends everything with equal or less DP to what it has. So if they're swinging in with something like, let's say, a Blitz Omni or something like that, you won't be able to suspend it. Or if they've got a Blitz Omni on board, you won't be able to suspend it. Everything that's lower than it is going to get suspended, which is why the buddy stuff is quite good for it, because they have all turns DP boosts. So potentially, if you've got the right stack, bearing in mind you would not have your BT14 Tyrannomon under this, it would be boosted up to 14k, and then you could suspend anything with 14k, which could be pretty cool. I do think maybe more of the buddy stuff could help to do that, but saying that, it's just that synergy issue. We want as many Tyrannomons as possible, and we don't always to make sure we've got that consistency, even we need to make sure we've got as much of it as possible. But Rust Tyrannomon, still a great card, does a lot of damage, especially with the way we've built this deck. You can do multiple checks with it, as well as also trashing security once or twice, depending. Sorry, I got hiccups apparently. It depends with depending on the stack. Then our level 7, which goes really well with Rust Tyrannomon, is Quartzmon. Quartzmon, of course, is needs no introduction. Absolute menace, the best green level 7 that there is. So what you could do is you can suspend everything with your Rust Tyrannomon Ace, and then on the turn before, do all your checks and stuff like that, and then go to Quartzmon, to completely just lock the board, which is really, really cool. Obviously, Quartzmon does suspend everything as well, but Rust Tyrannomon can do that on the opponent's turn, so you can blast into Rust Tyrannomon, suspend everything, next turn unsuspend, do your checks, do your piercing, do your trashing, and then go into Quartzmon, lock the board. And that's essentially the pseudo OTK that this deck can do. If you've got the right setup, you can clear all of their security in one shot, and then you go into Quartzmon, lock the board, and then they won't be able to do anything, unless they've got a Digimon in the back or a hybrid, something like that. And then you can just lock the board and then swing for game next turn. So Quartzmon is really, really good. Gains memory when it suspends everything. One for every 2, I believe. 1 for every 2 Digimon suspended. You'd think I'd know. I've play tested this deck loads, and I've played with Quartzmon loads, but apparently my memory's just not that good. And then also when it attacks in, it trashes up to it trashes 1 for every 5, which can be really good against particularly wide decks. Then we're going to go into our Tamers. So we've got 4 copies of the BT2 Tiger. I was originally looking at playing the BT11 one as well, because then you've got more DP boost. But ultimately, with this particular build, we need to make sure we've got piercing at all times. And what's really good about this Tiger is he actually reduces the cost of all of your Tyrannomons. So whether you're going from the champion level, the level 5 level, or your Rust Tyrannomon Ace, he can reduce all of them by 1, which is really cool, and then gives them all piercing. I think I would potentially try the Tiger again, just to see how things go, for those DP boosts, but, we'll see. Then our other Tamer, you'll notice, is not green. He is red. It is Hero from, I believe, BT8 or 9. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he's a memory Tamer, and the most important thing with him is that if you're attacking in with a Digimon with Gammamon in its name, or a level 5 or higher specifically, it does not matter the color. It is level 5 or higher Digimon, does not matter what the color is. You gain 2000 DP on your swing, so it means that you're making yourself even bigger to beat over much bigger threats. Also, this leads in quite well. He's red, so he allows the use of one of our option cards, which is 2 copies of Lightning Joust. So Lightning Joust is another DP booster, boosts by 2000 DP, and then if you've got equal or less security, which because this deck will often end up on the back foot before it can do all of its the kind of big shenanigans, you'll gain security tap +1. So you can get absolutely massive in this deck using that technique. Also, we have surprising amount of red things to be able to use it. So we have 4 red BT14 Tyrannomon, 4 red because they're dual color BT11. We've got the 4 red dual color Master Tyrannomon and the Hero. So we've got 14 cards in the deck that can allow us to kind of use that Lightning Joust once we've got the right setup. So it does actually work quite well consistently. Again, like I said, this deck is not here to break the meta. It's here for fun. This is a fun build that does fun things. To that effect, though, we also, for our searching purposes, we've got 4 copies each of Agility Training and Double Typhoon, both of which are really good for this deck. So Agility Training obviously searches any green cards. So unfortunately, the Heroes and the Lightning Joust won't get searched, but everything else will. And then also reduces the cost of our green Digimon digivolving, by 2, which obviously all of our Digimon are green, so that works really well. And then the Double Typhoon helps us search for any 1 green Digimon and 1 such Tamer from the list as well. So unfortunately, the red stuff is not searchable. You have to draw into it, which is kind of bad. But I just found with Tyrannomon, you want to be making yourself as big as possible. You want to really just gotta go gung-ho. And there weren't really any green Tamers that were letting us do that. Obviously, there was Tiger from BT11, which does give us a DP boost. But then we don't have a memory Tamer. So there is that. You could play Mimi. I used to play Mimi all the time in my old Tyrannomon builds, when they were more Tamer focused and more kind of spammy, and more focused on, the really cheap costs and stuff like that. This deck is not about that. This deck is about doing as much damage as you can in one shot. So you've got your Rust Tyrannomon, if, depending on the setup you've got, whether you've got Metal Tyrannomon or Master Tyrannomon underneath, you can get rid of 5 security in a single turn if you've got the right setup. You do have to use both of your Lightning Jousts to do that, I believe, because if you've got 5, we've got 1 trash from your Rust Tyrannomon, 1 trash from 1 trash from your Metal Tyrannomon, then the 2 Lightning Jousts would do you... Yeah, that would do you 5 checks, and then also the same with the Master Tyrannomon. So you can do your 5 checks, and then just go into your Quartzmon, lock the board, and that's that. But let me know what you think, guys. Like I say, this deck is kind of a work in progress still. I may go back to a more green list at some point, because I have been finding consistency issues with it, if I'm being honest, and everything there. But it does work pretty well for what it is. But let me know what you think. Let me know what any other fellow Tyrannomon players out there who I feel for you. We are we're all of us are just headbutting the wall at all times, playing Tyrannomon, wishing for better support, wishing for a fucking rookie searcher Bandai. But yeah, let me know what you think, and we'll take it from there. If I play this in Jank Tank at some point, I will have to take out the Quartzmons, so I'll probably end up adjusting it for that if I ever do play it in Jank Tank. Otherwise, you may see this deck sometime soon on the channel. But until then, Keep it digital.